Well, you know, I
think God and Moses both just have enormous respect for each other.
What gladiator has that same right spirit as in that Greek colony?
Look, the judges are proud. Even the Egyptian judge is impressed.
Until recently, you claimed that the earth revolved around the sun.
Welcome to History Bites. I'm Rick Green. The history of America is the story of settlers searching for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of choice, and freedom to better yourself. So it's a bit shocking to discover that one group of settlers left America searching for religious freedom, freedom of choice, and freedom to better themselves. In the mid-1800s, the Mormons departed from the 29 states of America. Their exodus took them to the Great Basin in the Utah Territory. They left behind the eastern evils of drink, tobacco, and monogamy. The Mormon Church's sacred and often secret practice of taking more than one wife made them vulnerable to arrest, persecution, and even murder. Let's channel surf to 1857 to see a thriving young religious community struggling with controversial ideas in a hostile land. Because where can you see a guy date 25 women and get away with it? On television.
Last season on The Bachelor. Out of 25 women competing for his hand, Ezekiel chooses Letty for his wife. And now 25 newly converted women get ready to experience love, romance, and polygamy as they try to win the heart of The Bachelor 2.
Before we launch into Bachelor 2, let's talk to Bachelor 1 from last season. Ezekiel, did you make the right choice?
Oh, absolutely. I'm very happy.
Everything is just great. He's a really hard worker, and he's attractive, and he's handsome, and really good looking too.
Any tips or suggestions for Bachelor 2?
Follow your heart. And remember that the woman you pick, you're going to be spending eternity with here on earth and in the afterlife.
And now we're going to take a look at this season's Bachelor.
Ezekiel Barton is a 35-year-old barrel baron from Salt Lake City. His successful coopering company produces, distributes, and repairs barrels for his fellow Mormon saints all over Utah Territory.
Well, welcome back, Ezekiel. One perfect match calls for another.
Yeah, and another, and another. I mean, that's one of the great things about Mormonism today, right? Like, you can marry more than one wife.
And does Letty feel as excited as you do?
Well, I'll tell you how I feel.
Letty.
No, this is ridiculous.
No, Letty.
This is not what we were...
Letty.
Honey, can I just talk to you for
Letty,
just a second?
she's great with it. She really is. I mean, it's not as if we've discussed it or anything, but, you know, one of the things I love about Letty is that she has a traditional view about honoring and obeying her husband and the teachings of the church and God.
The rules are simple. One man and 25 eligible women. A bevy of pilgrim beauties from Utah Territory and some new arrivals from England and Denmark. They'll each spend some time with Ezekiel.
And later this evening, in what we call the Desert Rose Ceremony, he will offer a Utah Desert Rose to the women he has narrowed his choices to.
Firm muskmelon. If you've ever done some post-hole digging, you might have come across this black, oozy substance, which we call petroleum. Now, this might seem like a nuisance, but petroleum can actually be a source of income. Bottle it up and sell it as a great home remedy for constipation. It's a popular laxative. Promised land.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. You see, this is the New Jerusalem. And you know what I was doing this weekend in New Jerusalem?
No.
Get this. Out in the sun digging ditches. That's what I was doing.
You were digging ditches?
Come on, you know, we all have to do our part, right? We all have to pitch in to help with irrigation. Or else, you know, it's death.
I don't think the punishment is that bad.
No, come on. I mean, you die of thirst from, you know, lack of water.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Well, in my house, the other wives and I have 11 children, and believe me, that's enough irrigation for anyone.
Yeah, you know, you should put them out in your lawn like little sprinklers.
It must have been difficult for Mormon recruiters to convince a young woman to journey thousands of miles to the middle of nowhere and then share a husband. But hey, Once you're in the middle of nowhere, sharing a husband may be the least of your worries.
We also asked the women competing on The Bachelor to tell us why they immigrated to be on the show.
I'm so fed up with the barn scene. It's such a meat market. And all the men out there talking bull all the time, or poultry. I want to settle down. I'm a settler.
I came to America with my parents. They died on the voyage over. I've had a lot of experience with hardship, heartache, and loneliness. And I think that's what makes me a perfect candidate as a Mormon wife.
Yeah, I was married. God told my first husband to trade me for the wife of another gentleman. She was younger, 13. Then my second husband, well, he died on his 93rd birthday too. But you know what they say, third time's a charm.
He's good looking, although a bit arrogant, kind of effeminate. But then you look at the other guys who can afford plural wives. They're old and they smell.
It's just that Deborah is fit. I mean, she is extremely fit. And I mean, you know, I'm fit too. I mean, I'm not saying the other girls aren't fit, but it's just that Deb, you know, she makes it a priority.
When we were at my dad's farm, I was showing him how I drive the oxen with the till. I think that really impressed him. I mean, a lot of girls think they can handle a till, but you gotta plow in a straight line, or your cornrows are all wonky.
Tonight, lovers in dangerous times. After negotiations break down between the government and former Utah governor and polygamist Brigham Young, the president is sending in U.S. troops to quell the Mormon uprising. 2,500 soldiers will make their unwanted advances on the women-loving Mormons.
Now, Young has said his militia are prepared to fight. It appears God has commanded the prophet to make love and war.
All right, my question is, why are we persecuting people with different beliefs? Does the phrase freedom of religion ring a bell?
Does the phrase manifest destiny ring a bell?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you have any new plays coming up?
Well, you know, we'd hoped to mount 7 brides for one brother, but the thing is, they're closing the theater.
Oh, closing down the only theater in Salt Lake City? I'm guessing that's because of the approaching U.S. Army.
Yes, now, as you know, the U.S. is sending 2,500 troops here to remove our God-given governor, Brigham Young.
That's right.
That separation of church and state thing. So we have to get this city ready for a siege.
Yeah.
We gotta prepare.
John, nobody loves a good play more than me. But if the U.S. government thinks it can get rid of Brigham Young, then I say no to theater and yes to war!
Yeah, a lot of us feel that way, and that's why I have joined up with the Mormon militia.
Is that right? Wow! That's right, folks. We gotta stop them. Fight the U.S. of A!
Well, Ezekiel, it's been a week. Have you got any sense of the other girls yet, or are you just exhausted?
Oh yeah. Oh, I am tired. Oh yeah. I mean, first I had to winnow through all the applications. You know, are they Mormons? Can they cook? Would they survive a winter and childbirth? But now that I've met them, I mean, wow, they're so nurturing, and with so many women's feelings involved, you know, people could definitely get hurt here.
Like Letty. Like Letty?
Which one?
Your first wife?
Oh, Letty, yeah. Oh, yeah, she's a great little lady, yeah. Oh, yeah, this is all about her feelings for sure. Oh, yeah.
What does your husband do, Nancy?
Whatever required, you know, farming and building, and lately sabotaging the U.S. military's advance on our territory.
Great. You mean like blowing up railway lines, stuff like that?
Yeah, right. And interrupting their food supplies.
Right,
you know, burning and destroying everything. So the American troops only captured scorched earth.
Right, I heard about that. Okay, today's prize is 4 tickets to the Brigham Young Theater to see John Thomas Kane.
Great.
So here's your question. When the angel Moroni gave Joseph Smith the gold plates with their mystical inscriptions, he also gave him something else to help him read them. What was that thing?
A pair of magic spectacles?
Yes, that's right, Nancy, yes!
The Mormons who headed west in the middle of the 19th century were seeking safety and shelter. They wanted a new land far from the hostility and violence that they'd faced in the East. But despite their best intentions, Mormons are fallible too, and their new community soon developed its own share of homegrown hostility.
Now, if you've been reading the news, you'll have been following the story of the Fancher wagon train. Terrible, terrible news.
Those guys were bad.
Yeah.
They passed through our territory without permission, insulting us Mormons, poisoning our water supplies, real ruffians.
That's right.
You know, you don't really believe things that you hear about outsiders until you hear it from somebody who actually knows something about what they did.
Yeah, sure. Anyway, well, I guess they got what was coming to them because a few days ago, the entire wagon train died.
Yeah. It is so weird, isn't it? It's so hand of God.
Yeah, well, hand of God, assisted a little by the hands of some friendly Indians.
Friendly?
Well, friendly to us.
They are something, those Indians.
They are.
You know, they're the lost tribe of Israel.
That's right. Hey, and you don't mess with the Israelis, they'll smite you.
Yes, Peter, that's the rumor. But even if Brigham Young didn't conspire with the Native Americans to wipe out this wagon train, the human bones, gnawed by wolves and charred by fire, do send a very strong message to outsiders who are considering crossing the Utah borders, especially during this period of martial law imposed by the governor, Brigham Young.
After the 120 men and women in the caravan had surrendered and been shot dead, if that's what happened, because, I really have no idea, and I don't speak Navajo or Hebrew, 17 small children were left orphaned. Yeah, orphaned.
They're backstage, and these kids are adorable.
Oh, cute.
I mean, a little shell-shocked, but cute as all get out.
Yeah. And these little guys, they're looking for adoptive parents, right, Gelman? Yeah. Oh, geez, look at Gelman. Look, he's hyperventilating because there's going to be kids on the show.
Or anal retentive like me, you might find a little swig of this oily stuff keeps you in touch with nature. I like to fill up these little glass bottles and sell them to my neighbors and friends for some extra cash. It's not much, but it takes something worthless, petroleum, and turns it into something valuable.
When you only have one wife, well, folks make fun of you. They go, oh, look at Mr. One Wife, look at Mr. Monogamy, look at Mr. Monotony. So there's all kinds of pressure there. Plus, I'm also doing it for her because the rules say that when you get to heaven and you only got the one wife because you're not a polygamist, well, that one wife you do have will be taken away from you. So, yeah, I'm doing this for her. Well, for both of us, yeah. Or however many.
So, Shannon, did he kiss you?
I'd rather not say.
Come on, we all saw you going behind the chicken coop together. I think there was more than just eggs being laid back there.
You are so not going to win!
Oh, and some ex-saloon girl like you is?
This Indian massacre is odd. Very odd. If it weren't for the arrows and bullet holes, I'd say these settlers had starved to death.
They should have eaten their oxen, huh, Scoot?
Shooty-doo!
You said it, Scoot.
Why is it odd, Thelma? The Paiute Indians don't use these kind of feathers or these kind of bullets.
Or these kinds of tomahawks?
Eyewitness accounts describe the horror of the Mountain Meadows massacre, but forensic testing in 1999 told an even darker tale. Denied the supplies they needed from the Mormon towns, the men, women, and children in the doomed wagon train had been starving for weeks. And when they died, it wasn't in a frenzied gunfight against attacking Indians. Many were shot at point-blank range. Not so much a battle as a mass execution.
So you got right in there and you pulled the arrows from your mummy. Boy, that's amazing. Too bad you couldn't pull out the bullets.
And then did you run away from the Indians?
What's that? I can't hear. What'd you say?
The white men had guns too?
White men? I think she's a bit mixed up.
The Mormon saved you, sweetie. I don't think the Mormons killed your daddy, honey.
Oh, kids, I tell you, they say the darndest things. Coming up, we're going to teach these orphans how to sing the Mormon handcart song.
Oh, look! Your teddy bear has a bullet hole, too.
There's the real villain. Like, it's Mr. Dithers.
He was trying to scare off new settlers. Mr. Dithers scalped anyone who came into Utah. The headdress meant everyone blamed the Indians.
I would have made it, too, if it hadn't been for you interfering kids.
That explains the box of makeup we found.
Like, yeah, and his crazy wig. Ow!
Jinky, Shaggy, that wasn't a wig.
Oops, like, I think I just scalped the scalper.
I mean, are you glad you immigrated here?
No, I absolutely hate it here, don't you? Everyone seems so guarded, and you kind of feel like people are spying on you all the time.
Well, I'll tell you, I do certainly not feel that way. I mean, I love it here in Utah, and especially the fine rules implemented by our leader, Mr. Brigham Young.
Oh, him. What was it he said? You commit a sin, you will pay in blood? I mean, what does that mean? I suppose he wants us to kill people?
Fiona, nobody kills anybody here except God and his duly appointed deputies.
Americans are really gun mad. It's just crazy. What are they thinking?
Well, Fiona isn't afraid to speak her mind. I'll give her that. I've never really met a woman like that before, you know. At least not out here, no. Well, there was one, but she, well. But, you know, I really am attracted to her. I think Fiona might be the one. But then again, I think I am going to talk to my bishop about what she said about the prophet.
But despite Ezekiel's feelings, tragedy strikes, and the Desert Rose ceremony is delayed because Fiona has disappeared.
I don't like it. Look, what happened to Fiona was for the good of everybody, including Fiona. She obviously wasn't fitting in. She was trouble. Now we have a better chance at surviving.
When we return, the competition heats up as The Bachelor starts to look more like Fear Factor. The Mormons who settled in Utah left behind persecution and hatred, and they gained desert. Turning this salty landscape into productive farmland would require incredible effort and lots of labor. So, Mormon missionaries scoured America and Europe, recruiting young people to the faith and then bundling them off to Utah with promises of heaven on earth. You can imagine their surprise when they arrived and they found out that heaven was parched, flat, and heavily salted.
I loved our date at the tannery. I hope you did too. If you gave me a desert rose, I wouldn't spit on it.
I want to remind you about what I said about how many children we could have together. I want to have lots of children. And I think you want that too.
I hope you also remember who cleaned the manure off your jacket.
Ezekiel, when I first came here and converted to the church, I didn't know much about polygamy, but now that I'm here, in the middle of nowhere, with nowhere to go, I'm really hoping to give it a try.
Well, Eddie, I think I finally got it narrowed down.
Yeah. Hallelujah.
Yeah. To the 10 on the right. Yeah.
I'll pick Joan Rivers to block.
Hello, Joan. I hear your book about the Mormon pilgrims and their journey west is out now.
Yes, it's called Can We Walk? Seriously, my daughter, she's become a Mormon, and she's gone out there, out west. She's married, she's third wife, and I'm telling you, she's gonna be number one. There's no stopping her.
Well, good for her. Okay. Joan, in 1838, a horrible thing happened to the Mormon community. What was that horrible thing?
They ran out of chores to do? No. You're talking about the horrible Horns Mill massacre, awful down there in Missouri. The governor's extermination order and some vigilantes massacred like 17 or 18 Mormons. Just terrible.
Absolutely. I'll agree.
Yeah, circle gets the square. Arch, America was built on immigrants. Why should it be any different here in Utah?
Oh, jeez, will you listen to them?
No, immigrants have been coming to North America for hundreds of years seeking freedom.
Oh, that's just my point. The first ones you get are the good ones. They're neat and sanitary, and they work hard like us. Now you're getting your leftovers there, the sloppy, lazy ones.
The sloppy, lazy ones?
Well, just take a look at the Great Platte River Road out there, Meathead, a beautiful trail through the West. And now it's just one long garbage reciprocal, littered with hundreds of dead horses there, discarded stoves, oh, what kind of junk.
I heard the reason the immigrants leave things behind is that they're exhausted. Stoves are heavy.
Oh, you see that? Lazy. Wasting Indian.
Now, if Ezekiel should offer you the desert rose, you are not obligated to accept it. But remember, we are surrounded by 100 miles of desert, mountains, undrinkable water, and vultures.
Okay, let's get started. Amanda, will you accept this desert rose?
Yes, I will.
And I'd like to make a second selection, if I may. Deborah, will you accept this desert rose?
Yes.
And oh, heck, fire! I'll just take them all. I mean, that's legal, right?
The American government kept up its pressure on the Mormon church to give up polygamy, and the Mormons kept resisting. Mormons wanted Utah to become a state, but the American government wasn't going to let that happen while Mormons still allowed multiple wives. Finally, in 1892, the Mormons officially abandoned polygamy. Today, the Church of the Latter-day Saints is still a huge force in Utah, with much to its credit. But like most religions that have to fight for their right to be different, it has a checkered and turbulent history. And history bites.
How'd you like to pull a handcart loaded with hundreds of pounds over thousands of miles of wilderness?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't be pulling no handcart, Meathead. I'd use mules. But these Danes and Limeys, they're all financially incontinent.
Well, how do you figure that?
Well, if they was better with their money, they'd use Conestoga wagons, like your normal God-fearing settlers there.
Daddy, the reason they don't have any money is because they donated it all to the Mormon church before they came here.
Yeah, and then when they get here, they have to work like slaves for the American bosses.
Well, boo-hoo. They don't like it, they can pack up their handcart and go back to scram the Navy.